Hi, and welcome to our quarterly travel data update for Capa. I'm Olivier Ponti, VP for Insights at ForwardKeys. In just 10 minutes, I'll share some key insights covering global and regional travel trends. Today, we'll reinforce the importance of domestic and intra-regional travel. We'll talk about the strong position of the US outbound market for this summer. We'll look into the very first signs of summer reactivation in Europe, then zoom in on the top destinations and hubs in Africa and the Middle East. We'll finish with some positive news regarding the Asia-Pacific region. Yes, we definitely have a lot to share with you today. But before we start, I'd like to share just a few words about ForwardKeys in case you've missed previous edition of Capa Live. We're a B2B travel analytics company specializing in air travel data. The core of our business is helping our customers understand travel demand and trends in real time to seize new market shares and new business opportunities. We regularly publish fresh insights and analysis on our website and via our social media channels. So follow us on LinkedIn or sign up for our newsletter to always be one step ahead of the curve. At ForwardKeys, we offer a variety of data sets such as bookings being made, tickets issued, or seat capacity for historical reference and forecasts. If you want to learn more, visit the website or drop me an email after the presentation. Now, back to what the data has to say for the first 4 months of 2021. This is the somewhat depressing reality of current international air arrivals worldwide as of last week. Compared to 2019, all global regions have continued experiencing declines in international arrivals, but performance is uneven amongst the different regions. Europe, where all kinds of travel restrictions and lockdowns were in place, is still behind by 89%, which means that international travel is still pretty much dead, as it is in the Asia Pacific. Africa and the Middle East and the Americas are giving us hope and performing better. We can see similar differences in the performance of the different worldwide regions for travel during the summer by looking at the evolution of confirmed tickets compared with the same moment in 2019. The good piece of news is that the Caribbean has almost reached 2019 ticketing levels by the end of April. Together with the reactivation of US travel, this is fast improving the overall America's outlook for the summer. Now, let's dive into the Americas first. To start, let's examine the domestic situation. Domestic travel markets have become an increasingly important travel sector for tourism organizations and governments to consider during the pandemic. They were key last year, and for some destinations, they've become a lifeline. The US is leading the way. Tickets to travel within the US are on a continuous upward trend since the beginning of the year and have even reached 85% of their 2019 levels in mid-April. Year to date, they are at 64% of 2019 levels. Domestic travel in Colombia is looking good as well at 63% recovery, but the evolution of tickets has followed a bumpier road than those in the US, and the current social unrest may slow recovery down. Interestingly, despite the high number of COVID-19 cases in Brazil, domestic travel there is halfway to 2019 levels. What is really encouraging about the US is that it's also rebounding as an international outbound market. Boosted by the fast vaccination rollout, US outbound has reached 65% recovery at mid-April, and the situation is expected to keep improving. The reactivation of travel in the Americas we saw earlier is powered by a strong US traveler appetite for travel and a successful vaccination program rollout. Traditionally, US visitors would account for just over 50% of total international visits to the Caribbean. During Q1 this year, that has jumped to over 76%, and when looking at the outlook for Q2 and Q3, we observe a very similar story. The Caribbean has a great opportunity to seize and reignite its relationship with the US as a key source market, particularly while the UK, France, the Netherlands, and other traditional source markets are still yet to reactivate. Caribbean destinations perform at different speeds. When zooming in the outlook for specific destinations in the Caribbean, we observed that some of them are set to receive record-breaking numbers of US visitors. US Virgin Islands currently has double the tickets confirmed for travel from the US between May and August than the same moment in 2019. Puerto Rico, Turks and Caicos, Aruba and St. Lucia are all experiencing growth now versus 2019, while others like Jamaica, St. Martin or Antigua and Barbuda have figures close to pre-pandemic levels. Let's look at Europe next. The top two most resilient markets into Europe for the summer, looking at the level of confirmed tickets versus 2019, are Israel and the UK, with high vaccination rates followed by Sweden. The UK is a particularly strategic market for many southern European destinations during the summer season, such as Spain, Portugal and Greece. If you want to understand current and future booking behavior to and from the UK, there are two things you should be familiar with. One, the UK has a tentative date on May 17 to relaunch international travel. Two, the traffic light system is to make sure this cautiously takes place. Travel destinations are ranked in three different categories: green, amber or red according to virus risk. Basically, the government is going to make it relatively easy for you to fly from a green country, just asking for some negative tests, and more difficult and expensive if you're flying from an amber or red country. The issue is that, as we speak, the list of green and amber countries has not yet been published. Speculation is well on the way, and while international travel remains banned, pent-up demand for summer holidays abroad keeps building up. Although British travelers are yet to be confirmed on the green and amber lists, they do hope they will get some sun this summer. Southern Europe is going strong with Greece, Cyprus and Spain topping the list. Greece is doing particularly well. Current tickets to travel between July and September register a surprising 12% increase on 2019 levels. It is no coincidence that the two countries showing the highest level of reactivation are also the ones who were the first in communicating on the reopening of their borders for the summer season. Just like in 2020, there are benefits to being ahead of the pack. One of the benefits of early announcements is that airlines have more time to adjust their seat capacity and promotions. Here, for example, we can see that airlines have decided to bet on Greece this summer, increasing seat capacity to levels even superior to the ones registered in 2019. On this chart, it is also fascinating to see how quickly airlines adjusted their offer following the announcement of the UK roadmap at the end of February. But what about long-haul travel? Looking at ticketing from the US to Europe, we can see a particularly strong pickup for countries such as Turkey or Greece, in both cases with figures close to 2019 levels. But the big winner is Iceland, which, since the beginning of April, has recorded ticketing growth. On the 16th of March, the government of Iceland announced the easing of restrictions for all vaccinated travelers and triggered a strong reactivation of bookings from the US. Another example that when communicating the first, destinations placed themselves ahead of the game. Let's share now some insights about Africa and the Middle East. US travelers are also keen to travel to long-haul destinations in Africa and the Middle East. Despite USA's CDC warnings, Africa and the Middle East are proving to be standout performers looking ahead at this summer. However, to put things into perspective, Africa accounts for 11% volume shares of total travel from the US to long-haul destinations, and the Middle East 2.1%. Presently, most African countries have minimal COVID-19 entry conditions for arrivals from the US, requiring a PCR test to be taken 72 hours prior to departure and a completed health declaration form. The Middle East is bolstered largely by transit traffic passing through regional hubs like Dubai and Doha. There's an increase in interest from VFR expat travelers wanting to travel to Bangladesh and India, as well as leisure travelers staying in Dubai or connecting to destinations like the Maldives. Ghana, Cape Verde and Togo are standout performers due to strong interest from VFR expat travelers. However, South Africa and Morocco are the most popular destinations in terms of US traveler volumes this summer. Morocco was recently excluded from the US Do Not Travel Advisory, so this may encourage more travel to the destination. Kenya's popularity can be attributed to the start of the safari season in June. The direct flight on Kenya Airways connecting New York to Nairobi has enabled Kenya to get an edge on other competing safari destinations like Botswana and Tanzania. Similarly, the dire COVID-19 situation in Tanzania has played a part in discouraging US travelers. Among top Middle Eastern destinations, Egypt is the most resilient destination now. Egypt was one of the first countries to open its borders in July 2020. Egypt's strong performance can be attributed to the fact they do not require quarantine for entry, although a PCR test to be taken 72 hours before departure is required. However, the popular resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh doesn't require a PCR test to travel there. In addition, Russia and Egypt have agreed to resume flights for the first time since 2015, so this has further bolstered bookings to Egypt. Looking ahead at the summer, Doha and Dubai are competing for the top position as the leading hub in the Middle East. In 2019, Dubai held this position firmly, but Doha has progressively challenged this lead. This can be attributed to the fact that Qatar Airways, which utilizes Doha as a base, has continued to fly while its regional competitors were suspending operations or scaling back capacity. They have even opened new routes during the downturn, notably to Seattle and San Francisco. It's also worth mentioning that because Qatar Airways maintained most of its routes, Doha became a hub for VFR expats returning home at the height of the pandemic. Let's finish with the Asia Pacific. One of the recent highlights in the region was the approval of the Trans-Tasman travel bubble. On April the 6th, New Zealand's Prime Minister announced that quarantine-free travel would again be possible from April the 19th between Australia and New Zealand. In the week that followed, bookings immediately jumped, with the total number of tickets issued for bidirectional travel between the neighboring countries reaching 49% of those issued in the equivalent week in 2019, the last normal travel year. But this is the exception to the rule, and international travel within the APAC region is very much non-existent at the moment. So let's focus on domestic travel in China during one of the key holidays for the Chinese market, Labor Day. As this video is being recorded, China enjoys the Labor Day holiday, and according to our freshest research, domestic travel is set to exceed pre-pandemic levels substantially. As of mid-April, total flight tickets issued for travel over the peak period, 1st to 5th of May, were 5.8% ahead of where they were at the equivalent moment in 2019. And bookings for the extended holiday period from 28th of April to the 9th of May were 9.8% ahead. Outbound travel is still almost impossible for the Chinese. The only exception is Macau, which has a bilateral agreement with mainland China for quarantine-free travel. Currently, Labor Day holiday demand for the destination stands at 75% of pre-pandemic levels. China's capital, Beijing, and Shanghai, where the Disney resort is celebrating its 5th birthday with a year of magical surprises, will be the most popular destination for holiday travel this spring, with booking 31.4% and 9.7% ahead, respectively. The country's southernmost city, Sanya, situated on the holiday island of Hainan, is proving exceptionally popular, with booking currently 59.1% ahead of 2019 levels. Apart from China, another success story in the region for domestic travel is Vietnam. Recovery for domestic air arrivals in Vietnam started in mid-May 2020 as the country managed to control the pandemic. Domestic flights had resumed on the 22nd of April and lockdowns lifted on the 23rd of April 2020. However, in summer, the momentum was subsequently dampened by the resurgence of COVID cases as the virus mysteriously resurfaced on July the 25th. Domestic arrivals picked up steam again from Q4 when the situation got contained and domestic air travel improved. Domestic air travel has been pretty much stable since then, despite new breakouts of the virus, for instance, around Lunar Year celebrations. We hope this is also the case on the most recent one, which surged just last week, and which we will, of course, be monitoring closely. So, Stay tuned. Before we finish, key takeaways I'd like to share with you from this presentation. 1. People are eager to resume traveling as soon as they can, and the pent-up demand for international travel during summer remains strong. 2. Countries with fast vaccination rollouts will become key source markets, as the case of the US, Israel, and the UK has proven to date. 3. Destinations that communicate earlier on their readiness to welcome international travelers are benefiting from being ahead of the game in terms of bookings. 4. Domestic and regional travel will continue to be key in 2021. My 10 minutes are up. We hope you've enjoyed the quarterly update and found this information useful. If you'd like to receive the PowerPoint by email or have any extra data question, email us at webinars@forwardkeys.com. Thank you for your time, and until our next Capa quarterly update. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. Bye for now.